Ms. Harper, I was very interested in your testimony, specifically about specific actions that were taken by CFPB, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, against companies that subsequently were dismissed. My understanding was in November of 2023, Toyota settled a $60 million illegal scheme that increased monthly car loan payments on consumers. You indicated Toyota was a contributor to President Trump, is that right?
Yes,
And how much?
$1 million, I believe.
And in May of 2025, the consent order that Toyota agreed to was actually terminated by the administration. Is that right?
Yes.
Is there much precedent for an administration terminating a consent order that the opposing corporation actually agreed to?
No, I think it's fairly safe to say that what we're seeing from the current CFPB led by Acting Director Vogt is beyond any normal parameters of what we would expect from a financial regulator.
And do we know anything about the $48 million that was supposed to be returned by Toyota to consumers?
In terms of?
That consent order, was any of that money actually returned?
No, I don't think a dollar has been returned yet. So when I said in my opening testimony that this is really robbing consumers blind, this is money that should have been going back to consumers who were harmed, and especially in this period where we know that the American public is facing so many challenges around the cost of living. It's really inexplicable to be adding to that burden and preventing consumers from getting more money. And the last thing I would add is, and these are legal violations. This is a law enforcement agency. We should be all encouraging that. That should be a bipartisan issue. And the fact that it's not says a lot about who Russell Vogt wants to benefit in this administration. They're friends.
Let's go to that in a moment. Bank of America and JP Morgan were both under investigation regarding the Zelle network, regarding a failure to reimburse customers that were defrauded by scam artists. And that action was taken to the CFPB. And what was the result of that action?
Those are also among the cases that have been dismissed.
And Bank of America contributed to Donald Trump in his inauguration, didn't they?
Yes.
Was it $500,000?
I believe so.
And JP Morgan, another $1 million?
Yes.
And Capital One, the evidence from the CFPB indicated they may have cheated customers out of as much as $2 billion. How was it that Capital One engaged in that fraud?
Yeah, so what was happening in that case was that Capital One was signing consumers up for accounts that they said were going to be high-yield interest accounts, that consumers, by putting their money in those accounts through interest payments, would be able to earn some additional money. And instead of actually doing that, they were keeping them in lower yield accounts and not telling them. And so, again, just another example of straight up taking money away from people in this country that need it more than ever. And especially when we're looking at an institution like Capital One, talk about repeat offender, long litany of legal violations. And that's why it was also very disconcerting to see from this administration that they greenlit the Capital One Discover merger that's only going to increase Capital One's market power and make it really difficult for small businesses and consumers to get ahead.
And Ms. Harper, Capital One contributed $1 million to Trump's inauguration.
Also true.
And what happened as a result to the CFPB case?
They got their case dismissed.
I am puzzled as to why we're having this hearing. As we're watching the defunding of the financial police happening over the last several months and weeks, all I have heard is criticism of whatever happened in the last administration. And I'm sure there's plenty of criticism that's legitimate against the last administration. I don't understand why we're still spending time on whatever happened in the last administration when we know what's happening under this administration is so corrupt and so clearly undermining the interests of every American consumer. I hope that our next hearing is going to actually focus on protecting American consumers and what we can do now and prospectively with a CFPB that has been utterly gutted as the Republicans continue to defund the financial police.